Hello and welcome to my channel, Cali Legends Media. We're starting off the new month, November 1st. We had the Dodger Parade kicking off downtown. All kinds of desmadre going on down there after the parade. And YouTube content creators have come back with a vengeance, man. There's a lot of good videos out right now. Towards the end of the month, it was pretty dead. This is my video for today. It's a video that I've held back for some time. But it's the video, it's the truth, it's something that took place in Ironwood State Prison. And it was my experience coming off the green light. Actually unknowingly, because I didn't know until I got on the bus and was on our way to Ironwood that my Sally, the guy who became my Sally, let me know that there was no green light. Up until that point, I had no idea. So basically, I went through the county jail, then through reception, and now on my way to the prison they're sending me to, and I find out on the bus that there's not a green light. The way I found out was my Sally, he was a big ass dude too. Bouncer from Eastside Bowling. Huge vato. He was sitting in the front with some other homies, right? And they kept looking back at me, okay? And I got taken onto the bus separate from them. They were in a different place than I was. It was just me and a homie Smokey that was in the cell with me when they pulled me out to go to Ironwood. And they just put me on the bus. I went to the back of the bus where there's an empty seat and I sat down. Then the other guys start coming in. And like I said, the homies were in the front. You could tell they were the most gang related. You know, they're the ones that had all the tattoos and, you know, that look, you know, that air about them. And they kept looking back at me. Finally, a bouncer gets up and he walks to the back because there's nobody sitting next to me. And he sits down next to me, right? But I noticed that he had one hand just with the cuff hanging, right? And he asked me where I was from. He asked me if I was a sureño, he asked me. I told him I'm from Maravilla. And he says, oh, all right. He says, hey, well, you know you vatos are good, man. You know, there's no light or anything that's been taken off. And I told him, no, I didn't know that. And he goes, yeah. He says, there's nothing happening. So anyways, he ends up kicking it with me through the whole ride. We ended up being Sally's, right? Anyways, when I got there, after we went, you know, they put us on the orientation. When I got kicked out to the yard that I was going to be on, the first yard, I was approached by the homie that had the building, actually. Usually they send somebody, but he came himself. He was a guy from Laguna Park, which is a neighboring neighborhood to us. You know, not too, just maybe a mile or two away. Anyways, I let him know from Jump Street, you know, that I wasn't a sureño, that I'm just from Maravilla. I'm an East Sider. I told him I know what time it is. If anything jumps or anything, hey, I'm here. You know, I back up the raza. You know, but and I know the reglas. Other than that, I don't want to be a part of nothing, man. You know, I'm just here to do my time and do what I gotta do, and that's it. You know, and he just told me, all right, orale, and he left, right? Well, you could imagine, you know, the first time I come out to go to the yard, I'm getting all kinds of dirty looks, and you know, people are having their own opinion about what I had said to them, right? What I had said to the homie, right? Anyways, when I got there, when we first got onto the yard, there was a guy from Eloyo that was at the gate when we walked onto the yard, and he kind of intercepted me right away. We knew each other from the street, and he let me know what was going on with the homies there on the yard. regarding this one specific homie, right? So I told him to ask the homies to come out on the first unlock and night yard, right? So when I came out, there was about 15, maybe 20 homies, all in the same area. Went over, introduced myself, and then the homie that he wasn't in question of anything. It was just some internal stuff that the homie from El Loyo wanted to get at him about, but he wanted to get at him in a whole other level, I asked the homies, hey, let me talk to dude. The dude was from Lotte, Maravilla. They told me, go ahead. And there was guys from Juarez Maravilla, Arizona Maravilla, Ford Maravilla, Lopez Gage Maravilla. There was a gang of Maravillas there on the yard when I got there. And a lot of them had been incarcerated since juvenile hall, okay? Went to YA, and now they're in the state, okay? They were brought up kind of different than me. Not only were they much younger than me, but I was brought up different than them because I was brought up in the streets by the older homies. And the older homies at that time, we had a lot of homies that were maravillosos, okay? And they talked very much against getting involved with politics in prison, That was like a big no-no. It's all negative, all bad, And, we're kind of taught how to represent ourselves where we could coexist. We respond when needed, but we don't get mixed up in that world, right? So I walked under that yard with that kind of mentality. Plus, we had a green light. We just came off the green light. To me, it had only been like a couple of months, because I just found out about it. And I felt some sort of way. Like I had some trust issues with not only what I had been taught, which I really didn't bite too much into because I had been in the county jail a lot of times, doing different amount of times. I did 3 years, I did 18 months, and all kinds of stupid little terms inside the LA County Jail, where I was with those guys that were at the highest level of the politics, and I've always been treated good with respect, and participated in some things, some warfare in the county jail, and I was never treated any kind of way, So I didn't go either way. I didn't go balls out maravilloso, and I didn't get caught up in the politics, man. I just from Maravilla, and that was it, right? And my homies from Maravilla were my concern, were my lifeblood, That's what I was representing. But there was homeboys there in the yard that had been to the bay. They were neighbors with some very influential people, and some of them had yards. The homie that I was taking the lap with from Lotte actually he had Palm Hall, and for the people in charge there, and that's kind of something that we were talking about, something that happened up there. Anyways, long story short, dude from Lotte was cool. He wasn't really like disregarding what the homies were saying. He just didn't like the way certain homies were getting at him about it and stuff. We shook hands. I let the homies know, hey, homie's cool about that. He understands. He knows what's up. We could count on him, blah, blah, blah. But I learned quickly that those homies, most of them, had a different mentality than me. And even one time we were in front of one block, and I was talking to them, and they had said something, I don't know what, and I told them, well, we're not sureños, homie, we're just Maravilla. And then a homie from Fort said, well, I never heard that, homie. Where did you get that from? And I started explaining to him what the older homies had taught me. Not only older homies from Mariana, but older homies from Arizona, older homies from Juarez, Doc from Juarez, rest in peace. My homeboy Mad Dog Smiley, rest in peace. A lot of older homies, even from Eloyo, Lopez. So, and I'm explaining to him what I was taught, how I was taught. And a lot of them never heard that before, never heard that kind of talk. They grew up in the system. They grew up sureño, 100%, 100%, with the business, So they weren't even feeling me on that level, They were brought up different. And I understood where they were coming from, because in my neighborhood there had been homies that were representing Sur, and others that were representing Maravillosos, and others that were just representing Maravilla. And that's just the truth about it. A lot of people know my homeboy Checo. He got himself caught up in certain aspects of prison life, that didn't involve Maravilla per se. But before that, he was a Maravilloso. And I remember when we talked, he had explained to me, hey, homie, I was all for it, but then the older homie, and it was an older homie from the same barrio, wanted a third of his dope that he was hitting in prison. And Checo told him, hey, for those of you that don't know Checo, he's no longer with us. Rest in peace, the homie Checo. He told the homie, hey, homie, you're doing the same thing that them vatos are doing. You're doing the same pedo, So what's the difference, And he it put a bad taste in his mouth, And he removed himself from the Maravillosos. He covered up his MV on his arm, the little MV. They used to have a little MV on their arm. And he stopped doing that. He says, why am I gonna do that? Them vatos have everything. Them vatos got all the power. They got all the nice things. They got everything. Why am I gonna be fucking around struggling, and then you're gonna take a third of my shit as on top of it? His reasoning was that he would, if he's gonna be doing his most of his life in prison, he's gonna want to be at the top of the food chain, getting all of the things that he can get, under those conditions. And he was no longer, so he got disgruntled with the whole Maravilloso thing. And these kind of changes just happen with individuals throughout Maravilla. At one point, I remember all of a sudden, man, a bunch of young homies that were very, very young and had gotten into the barrio were take off their t-shirts and they'd have Maravilloso blasted across their stomachs and stuff, And I would tell him, hey, homie, why you put that on you? Are you a Maravilloso or what? Yeah, I'm a Maravilloso. Que the homie so-and-so said that I'm a Maravilloso, que this and that. I go, man, you never even been to prison, homie. Them vatos, they know how to run fucking prison yards, and they've been educated, homie. They're pintos, You never even been to the county jail, homie. You never even been in, I don't even think you've been to 3rd Street, to the substation, Yeah, well, the homeboy said, and I'm not sure they really knew what they were getting themselves into at that point. There was still a lot of down, real Maravillosos, I mean, from that organization, because that's what Maravillosos were. It was an organization. They had different races. They had different barrios. They had different barrios that weren't even from Maravilla. For those little homies that don't know, yeah, they did. They weren't just from Maravilla. Maravillosos was a different type of an organization. They weren't just our older homies. There were vatos from different barrios, uh, uh, chinos, you know. So you know what I'm talking about. While I was there in Ironwood, there was a maravilloso there. Uh, we used to hang out by the bag together and take turns on the bag, on the heavy bag out in the yard. And one day on my way over there, a homie pulled me over and he told me, "Hey, tell your homie he's got to put his shirt on." He had maravilloso blasted on his stomach. And I told him, "Well, why don't you go tell him yourself, you know?" And he looked at me and he just like walked away, you know? So when I got to my homie, he was from Arizona, older homie, right? He was older than me. I told him, "Hey, homie, on the way over here, this vato stopped me, homie, and it's talking about, you know, you got to put your shirt on." He goes, "Well, go tell him, to come and tell me himself, homie." And I told him, I go, "You know what? I'm not going to go tell him that. You go tell him." I told him what I told him, and if you want to tell him that, I'm not going to be passing messages from him to you. I'm telling you because you're my homie, and so you have a heads up, you know, that there's eyes on you, you know." He goes, I don't care, you know. If somebody's got a problem, then I just have to deal with it, you know. And he continued doing his program and stuff. Nothing ever happened to him up until the time I left that yard. Um, I ended up going to another yard, but before that took place, the homie was still there. Um, I didn't see him often, but he'd come out, get his workout on, and then he'd go do his program, you know? Anyways, I wanted to do a video based on Maravilla, okay? And not be talking about these other people that are like, you know, these snowflakes and stuff that do their rants and stuff. I'm not going to be answering to them and stuff. Uh, I said it once before, I wouldn't do a video on the snowflake from Arizona anymore, and I'm not going to. So that being said, you know, yeah, I might have mentioned something about him doing one about Blue Devil kind of getting tripped up and using an old ass video to get at him about something that everybody and their mothers already got at him about. Everybody knows where that guy stands and where he's headed. Nobody's worried about him. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to do something regarding my neighborhood. Uh, I remember when I was doing my time, there was a sureño spread, and I was taking a shower, and one of the homies there, Chino, he yells out, "Hey, Lucky, come and get a burrito." "It's all right. We know you're not a sureño, homie, but it's all right. You could come and eat a burrito with us." Fucker. I just laughed. I told him, "All right, homie, I'll be over there right now, but I gotta take a shower in case something goes down, homie. I'm already all showered up, you know, because you know shit's pop. That fucking yard was popping off every little while." I took my shower, went over there, and had my taco, and you know, it was all good. I got along well with all the homies there. You know, when the riot popped off, it was on and cracking. It is what it is, you know. Um, yeah. After that, I did go back to jail one time, but only to the county jail. While I was there, I had one of the esquinas up there for an older homie that was there that had the floor, and you know, asked me if I do him the paro, and you know, I'm not like jumping back and forth or anything, but I've never had any issues against anybody except for during the green light, and anybody that gets disrespectful, and of course any enemy of my family, my barrio. Um, yeah, I have problems with. But as far as doing time, I've never had problems, been disrespected or treated poorly by either side, by the maravillosos, nor by the people in charge of things, you know, and I appreciate that. Um, I made friends along the way more than anything, you know. But nowadays, the term maravilloso has grown, has kind of changed in definition to where we are all consider ourselves maravillosos. We all consider ourselves marvelous, the marvelous ones from East LA, from Maravilla, and so it's different now. You know, it encompasses basically everybody. There's a difference between that organization, the Maravillosos, and all the Maravilla gangs. You know, there's a difference. You know, one, you have to be a member of that organization. The other one is nowadays where if you're just a member from any Maravilla, you know, you're one of the marvelous ones now. You know, so it was different back in the days, back in the '60s, back in the '70s. Um, and I know a lot of people that use the term maravilloso now. They don't even know because they were born like in the '80s and stuff. You know, they're a lot younger. So I got a lot of negative feedback when I even touched on this subject. So I understand that some people ain't gonna understand it unless before they start barking things off, talk to your older homeboys and find out the truth of really where that term what it meant back then and what it means now, you know. But it's all good, you know, either way. You know, somos maravillosos. We're all the marvelous ones from East Los Angeles. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll be doing some other videos about the Maravilla area. I'm gonna be doing one about the Maravilla Handball Court, and which is now an historical site and cannot be knocked down ever, which we'll get into in that video. And also, I'm going to touch on the little store that handball court once belonged to. It belonged to a little store in the corner with the owner's name of the lady was Michi. Her name was Michi. She helped out the guys from Maravilla a lot, and yeah. So that the store in the handball court's going to include Michi and the lady that was responsible for making it an historical site. She's going to come on and explain what it took to make that happen and give some history on the handball court and Michi. Okay, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you tonight on the live. It'll be between 6 and 7 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. God bless you. God bless your family. Stay strong. Keep your head up. Stay free.